Remember just a couple of years ago? It felt like the entire internet was completely obsessed with NFTs. You couldn't escape it. It seemed like everybody was getting rich overnight off of, well, JPEGs. And then, just as fast as it started, it all came crashing down. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a market correction. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the 5 dark truths of the NFT boom to figure out what was really going on behind all that hype.
I mean, it sounds completely insane saying it out loud now, but this was the reality. Back in 2021, you had digital pictures of monkeys selling for the price of a Lamborghini. This wasn't some weird niche thing. No, this was on the mainstream news, being pushed by celebrities, all driven by this intense, powerful fear of missing out. And then, poof, almost overnight, the whole market just evaporated. We're talking billions of dollars in value completely wiped out. Millions of people who had poured their life savings into these digital pictures were left holding, well, basically nothing. The dream of getting rich quick turned into an absolute nightmare for so many.
But this is where it gets interesting. You have to ask the question, was this just a classic speculative bubble that burst, a normal market thing, or was something way more sinister going on here? Well, the evidence strongly suggests that for a lot of these projects that collapse, it wasn't an accident at all. It was actually part of the plan from day one. And that leads us right into our first dark truth. A huge number of these NFT projects were literally programmed to fail. They were scams from the get-go. In the crypto world, this has a name. It's called a rug pull. It's exactly what it sounds like. The developers create a project, get everyone to pour their money in, and then they pull the rug out from under them and just disappear.
And the scale of this is just mind-blowing. We are not talking about a few bad apples here. In 2022 alone, people lost over $2.8 billion to these rug pulls. And the scary part is how easy it was to do. You'd create a simple website, you'd generate some art, you'd make a bunch of huge promises on Twitter, and you could vanish with millions of dollars in a single weekend.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? When you see this much money being lost because of deliberate, intentional deception, you can't call that a market downturn. It's a crime wave. A massive digital crime wave that was happening out in the open in a space with basically zero regulation, feeding on all that hype and excitement.
So how did this crime wave get so big so fast? Well, that was fueled by our second truth. The hype was manufactured. And a huge part of that was the army of celebrities who were promoting these projects to their millions and millions of followers, giving them this powerful and almost always false sense of legitimacy.
The playbook they used was surprisingly simple. A project would pay a celebrity a ton of money, sometimes millions, just to post a picture of their NFT, maybe with a few fire emojis. But here's the crucial part. They didn't tell their followers it was a paid ad. They had no skin in the game, no personal investment. They just cashed a check while their fans invested their actual savings. This got a lot of them in hot water with the SEC for unlawful promotion. So here's the big takeaway. If you ever see a celebrity hyping a crypto project, just assume they're being paid.
Okay, so we've got intentional scams and we've got fake celebrity hype. But the deception, it actually went even deeper than that. The third truth is that a massive chunk of the trading activity that made the market look so red hot, it was a complete illusion. It was a mirage created by something called wash trading.
So what is wash trading? To put it really simply, it's just faking a sale to yourself. An owner will use 2 different crypto wallets that they both control to buy and sell their own NFT back and forth. Now, to everybody else watching, this looks like a real transaction. It creates this false impression of a super active hot market where these things are just flying off the shelves. So here's how the trick works. A scammer lists their NFT for sale. Then, they secretly used a second wallet they own to buy it from themselves. That fake sale gets recorded publicly on the blockchain, so it looks like there's huge demand. Real buyers see all this activity, they get FOMO, and they think, wow, this project must be the next big thing. So they jump in, and that's when the original owner sells their now artificially inflated asset to a real unsuspecting person and walks away with a massive profit.
And this all brings us to 2 of the absolute biggest myths of the entire NFT boom. The first was this idea that everyone was making life-changing money, and the second was the very concept of what ownership even meant in this new digital world. Let me tell you, the reality of both of these is pretty sobering.
Let's just look at the hard data. A study that analyzed millions of these transactions found a pretty shocking reality.
80% of people who bought and sold NFTs either lost money or at best broke even. And the profits? Well, half of all the money made in the entire market was captured by a tiny, elite group of just 2% of sellers. So what about all those screenshots you saw on Twitter, right? The people flipping NFTs for 10x, 100x profits. That was a classic case of what's called survivorship bias. Think about it. Nobody ever posts their losses online. You only see the wins. So this handful of massive winners were super visible, and it created this totally false story that this kind of success was normal. It absolutely was not.
But honestly, maybe the most mind-bending truth of them all comes down to one really fundamental question. When you paid all that money, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, for that JPEG of a monkey, what did you actually own? The answer is probably not what you think it is.
Okay, so let's break this down. You might think you own the digital image itself, or maybe the copyright to it. But in reality, what you own is a token on the blockchain. And that token doesn't actually contain the image. It contains a URL, a link, that just points to where the image is stored. And where is it stored? Not on some indestructible, decentralized blockchain. Nope. It's usually on a normal, centralized web server, just like any other picture on the internet.
And this right here, this is the critical vulnerability. If the company that made the NFT decides to shut down its server, or maybe they just stop paying their web hosting bill, that link breaks. Your incredibly expensive token now points to nothing. It becomes a line in a ledger that just references a 404 error page. Your asset is, for all intents and purposes, gone.
Now, after hearing all of that, it's really easy to just dismiss this whole thing as a complete and total scam. But it's really important to be clear here. The problem was never the core technology itself. The problem was the speculative mania, the greed, and all the scams that were built on top of it. You have to separate the hype from the actual innovation. Because the underlying technology of a non-fungible token, which is just a unique, verifiable digital certificate of ownership, that is genuinely powerful. Seriously, think about it. Fraud-proof tickets for concerts, a system where musicians automatically get paid a royalty every single time their song is used or resold. Video games where you truly own your in-game items and can sell them on an open market. These are real, practical applications, and people are building them right now.
So that's kind of where we're at now. The bubble of speculative JPEGs has definitely burst. The hype and the billions of dollars that came with it, that's all gone. But with all that noise finally cleared away, is it possible that the real, sustainable innovation using this tech is actually just getting started? That's the big question we're left with.